Mike Landers, candidate for Sylacauga City Council District 1, joins us for a few minutes this morning. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jimmy Dale. It's always a pleasure to be here.
It was a good forum last night.
It was a great forum, and I want to thank you and the other local media that participated, because those events get people out that nobody else gets out, and the media connections that y'all have bring it to a lot of folks at home, so I appreciate that.
A lot of people surprised that Mike Landers running for District 1 City Council. Why?
They shouldn't be surprised, because I have looked at this seat before, and it seemed that the time was right, because I think there's some things that are happening on the council, Jimmy Dale, that I've never seen before. And I don't have any specific dislike or disfavor for Ashton Fowler. He's, as far as I know, a fine young man. What concerns me is that we have a council right now that we never see any real discussion. You know, Pam and I have bigger fights on the way to get supper every night to determine if we're going to eat Arby's or Chinese. So this council seems to always have already made a decision before they meet. Now, some folks say, well, that way there's no discussion, there's no hard feelings, there's no this, there's no that. But I'm going to tell you something. Making government work needs to be a matter of full disclosure. And we're not seeing what's going on, and I suspect that, like on anybody that is a representative body, one or two members may be a lot stronger personality-wise than the others. In fact, I told a fellow the other day, I said, I hope I can save some effort on behalf of the council if I'm elected, because I won't have to look to the left to see what my opinion is. I'll already know it. So I'm all about change. I'm about changing some of the things we're doing, and I'm about changing the idea that we've got to throw away everything that's old and try to get something new.
What do you bring to the table, Mike?
Well, I bring years of experience. You know, you and I go way back, so there's no secrets between you and I. I came from the same place, kind of. You know, knowing you all my life. Of course, you're a lot older than me.
Of course.
Yeah. No, but you know what I bring is 64 years of knowledge, a solid education, a lot of experience, never working in politics, but working around politics. I worked for Senator Shelby when he was Representative Shelby. I have worked as a registered lobbyist, worked in government in various capacities. And so the one thing I understand is the need for connectivity. You know, when I'm in Montgomery, if the legislature's in session and I happen to be down there, one of the things I see, and it always bothers me about Sylacauga, everybody says, well, Sylacauga's a small town, they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't afford this, they can't afford that. Well, this council thinks we can afford a lot of things. I heard one of them say last night at the forum, we thought we could afford an indoor pool. Where that came from, I'll never know. But anyway, there are towns the size of Sylacauga and smaller that have folks paid to represent them in Montgomery. And that's critical, Jimmy, because you know where dollars come from. They come from two places. They all come from one place, that's the taxpayer. But the folks that divvy them up are the folks in Washington and the folks in Montgomery. And we've got to be connected. And that's what I bring, is a sense of connectivity. Plus, I'm a fairly intelligent fella. And some things that I know are just not going to work. And it's elemental that we can't spend more money than we got. It's elemental that we can't keep financing and financing and financing. You know, I would love to have a new this and a new that and a new everything. But let me tell you, if you maintain what you've got and you take care of it when you have it, we heard the discussion last night about what it's going to cost to rehab the pool. Well, now in the name of saving money on maintenance, we've had a pool that's fell away. It's fell into disuse. But that pool was built, it's not like a backyard pool. That is a concrete shell, a foot thick, made with rebar and concrete. There's nothing about it that can't be rehabbed. And kids could be swimming next year. A splash pad is a fad. It's a luxury. And older folks can't use it. You know, I'm lucky. I've been blessed all my life. I was born under a lucky star. I was born under God's light. I was born in the USA. I was born to Charles and Sue Lander, so I know. All you hear about privilege, I was privileged to all that. But I have a pool in my backyard, so my kids can swim and my grandkids can swim. But I feel so bad. I was in the convenience store the other day, and there was a little fella standing there, and I said, "Hey, little man, what you been doing this summer?" And he said, "I ain't been doing much of nothing." I said, "Well, you need to be doing something." I said, "When I was your age, my daddy made me stay at his store and work." And he said, "Whoa, that'd be rough." I said, "Yeah, it was rough." But I said, "Well, what you been doing to have fun?" And what he said was that he couldn't go to the pool. And I said, "No, you can't go to the pool in Sylacauga." I said, "Reckon what happened to that pool?" He said, "My granny said it rotted down." Well, that's about as good of an explanation as what's happened to the pool as I know of. The pool rotted down. So we've got to fix those things. And you and I both know that Main Avenue is no solution to that. That's a building that's in such disrepair, it's got to be pushed down. It's at the confluence of railroad switch tracks. That's dangerous. You've got to really be cautious, because if a kid gets out there on the switch track, that's disaster. Plus the noise factor. It impedes you from having programs, and a train schedule is something you can't rely on. You can kind of rely on commercial passenger train service, but freight service is just impossible to rely on as far as timing. You know, every year when you have a parade or anything in Sylacauga, you've got to call the railroad to make sure that they're not sending a train through to run right through the middle of your parade. Well, this is what you're going to have down there. But there are a lot of other things in Sylacauga, too, that need to be changed. And we've got to get back focused on more industrial development. Now, I was amazed when I heard one of the candidates speak last night. I thought, you know, I really got to feeling bad for a few minutes, because after he cited his accomplishments and what he had done personally to bring business to Sylacauga, I thought, well, I need to call my buddy Calvin Miller, the Talladega County Economic Development Authority, because Calvin's surely out of a job. Heck, they don't need him anymore. But, you know, we've got Calvin, and Calvin does a wonderful job in economic development. Folks say, well, you know, why didn't Sylacauga get Honda? Why can't we have this? Well, let me tell you why. We don't have an interstate highway. That's the whole key. An interstate highway is key. Now, would it, and one of the candidates for another district mentioned the idea that we need that connected road to cross the Coosa River into Columbiana and access us to 65. Well, I worked on that project. I had a contract with the Talladega County Commission to lobby that project for them. Ron Johnson asked them to hire me, and they did, and I worked very hard. I worked with Tim James once Tim James decided he wanted to get involved. And let me tell you what the problem is there. There's a fellow over there, a lawyer named Butch Ellis, and I've known Butch for many years. He's served in the legislature. He has served on the Ethics Commission. I would not say Butch and I are close friends, but Butch and I are friends. But Butch is a very clever and strong-willed fellow. And you would think that the power would have shifted in Shelby County from Columbiana to the north end of the county where the population is, but that's not so. Butch's son now serves in the legislature, Corley Ellis, and Butch there are 11 municipalities in Shelby County, and Butch represents all 11 as municipal attorney. Butch also owns a substantial farm out on the Perkins Road, which is the connecting road to the Coosa River. Well, I knew it was going to be an uphill pull, and you could get the mayors. Mayor Picklesheimer in Chelsea supported the idea of that road because it takes some traffic off 280. Mayor Hanley in Columbiana supported the idea of that road if we build a bypass around Columbiana. Couldn't do that because of the cost. But Butch Ellis just was not going to have that, and so it didn't happen. And we can mark that off the list as long as Butch is alive.
I'd say it's probably not going to happen.
That's right. So we can forget that until something happens to Butch. And I have only God's good wishes for Butch because he, as I said, my friend. But you know what Butch says goes. So you can forget about that road over there and that bridge for the time being. In fact, I hear there's a proposal to even refund that small amount of money, that $5 or $6 million, $10 million that's been collected in the bridge fund.
So talk briefly this morning about industry expansion here. Talk about the downtown area, because a lot of people love the city of Sylacauga.
Well, you know, and I happen to be one of those folks. And let me tell you, if I didn't love Sylacauga, I wouldn't be taking my time. Pam and I are blessed to have most of our health and blessed to have a pretty comfortable life, and we travel a good bit and we do what we want to do. And there again, when I decided to run for this office, it was very serious at home, because she said, well, and we talked about this, and she said, you know, you can't run for anything that's going to require all your attention, because we have a new grandbaby, and we have a total of 5 grandchildren. So we're pretty busy grandparents. And so she said, you can't have a full-time job at the city of Sylacauga or anywhere else. So it had to be a council seat. But we needed new representation in District 1. As to growth in the city, we've done extremely well. Now, for this council to take credit for that is a mistake, because much of this was started in the previous council. As to industrial expansion, we've got to focus on the product we've got, and that's calcium carbonate. The marble industry is what drives this economy. Actually, folks don't know this. They think that the highest paying jobs in the county are at Honda. That's not so. The highest paying jobs in Talladega County are the industrial jobs right out here at the 2 quarries, Emery's and Omnia. So we're very blessed to have that. It's a strong economic driver. That can be expanded pretty easily, because the biggest cost in using calcium carbonate is the transport of it from the mining site, from Sylacauga, to wherever you're manufacturing with it. So if you can use a slurry product, and that's why Heritage Plastics is here, that's why the roofing industry is here, that's why Gaston Construction Company has just built a new pelletized plastic plant that will operate as the Gaston plant, as a competitor, or at least in the same market as Heritage Plastics. So that's critical. You know, that's used in paint, it's used in medication, it's used in household products, it's used in plastic, it's used in glass, it's used in almost food, it's used in almost everything. So growing that. The other thing that is critical about expansion is to be sure that we don't get blinded to what we don't have. Yeah, we don't have an interstate highway, but we have 280. But we also have the capability to move by rail, and obviously that's what keeps our calcium carbonate industry healthy. Now, as to downtown, you know, Jimmy, I wax nostalgic, and that's a sickness or an affliction of us older folks. But see, I remember coming to town with Mother when she would come to the bank, and for my daddy's store and his pulpwood yard and his cotton gin. And Daddy was the postmaster at Fayetteville, and he was also the L&N depot agent at Fayetteville. But I'd come to town with her. Well, it was such a wonderful thing, because everything was downtown. And she'd go dress shopping. I'd go catch a matinee movie. I'd go in Mr. Wythoner's Western Auto. And of course, I knew all the merchants downtown, because Daddy was kind of contemporary with them many, many years ago. And so I'd like to see that come back. Now, the uphill battles to that are monumental, because there was a kind of a flight among people towards Birmingham, because they wanted a broader shopping experience. They might want dinner and a movie. They might want a different product line. They might want an expanded product line. They just might want a day out, which created some issues. But now you can win that back, because you can create that cachet downtown where folks say, I just want to be down there because it's nice, it's kitsy, it's kind of funky down there, there's a good place to eat, it's a good place to drink, it's fun downtown Sylacauga, it's comfortable. The problem that small business everywhere is having now, and you know this, is the terrible battle they're fighting against internet sales. And you know, when folks, and it's happened in the pandemic, and it's even reinforced folks shopping from home, and that's a bad thing.
Sure.
But you know, when you can sit there with your iPad or your computer or your cell phone and, you know, order up some new t-shirts or order you up a new recliner, and you never have to leave your home, and you never have to face COVID, and you don't have to put...
Not bad.
But it is bad. It's bad for us here in Sylacauga. It's bad for the merchants downtown. And then I think sometimes that our city is not attentive, because I know that they have some plans and they get some grants for downtown, but sometimes free money is not always good money.
Running out of time, 60 seconds why they should vote Mike Landers District 1.
They should vote for Mike Landers for City Council District 1 because I won't pull any punches. I don't need anybody to tell me what my opinion is, and I don't need anybody to train me. I have the experience, I have the connectivity, and I want to serve y'all. And if you'll give me a chance, that's what I'll do.
All right, Mike Landers, candidate for Sylacauga City Council District 1, our guest. Final thought on Daybreak right after this.